The Cram-O-Matic in Sword and Shield is a worse version of the printing machine in Scarlet and Violet. Or is it? No, yeah, it is. It is generally worse, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's worse or bad in every aspect. And that's because, unlike with a printing machine, you can actually choose what item you get to an extent. The only thing you can't specifically choose are the Apricorn Pokeballs. And while you can pick which group of them you could get, it's actually just pure RNG in actually getting that ball. So without getting too convoluted, let's get right into it, because it's actually much simpler than you'd think. Let's begin by explaining how the item dispensed is actually chosen. Now every single item that you can place into the Cram-O-Matic have a number and a typing attached to them. Cerebi has a full list of these values, but there are a lot of them, so I'll just cover a lot of the important ones and easy to obtain ones in a bit. But first, you need to know that the typing of the item only matters for the first item you put in. So the first item in this first slot here is the only one that the typing of it matters. Any of the other three items only matter for the number value attached to them. So let's do a test run real quick to kinda show you what I mean. Here's the chart for fairy type items on screen, and let's say I need a destiny knot for breeding or whatever the case may be. It has a required value of 81 to 90. Now this does not mean that if you were to put in a destiny knot it would have the same value. This is just the value range that the number of items you input have to add up to. I'll go over these items again later, but for now, Dynamite Ore is a very easy to obtain material, which you get for completing Dynamax Adventures in the Crown Tundra, and it has a numerical value of 28, so it is very useful for getting up to higher numbers. We can also get Pecha Berries from the shop next to the Pokemon Center in Wedgehurst, which have a value of 2, so they're very good for just kind of padding the number if you don't want to go over the value that you've hit. Lastly, we can get a sweet from the cafe in Modestoke, which is behind the lower Pokemon Center. Now, it's not guaranteed, but from what I could tell, it's pretty common. You just have to battle the guy behind the counter, which can only be done once a day, unless you day escape using the raid duns. Basically, to do that, you just stay in offline mode, put a wishing piece in a raid dun, or even find an active one if you just want to skip the day once. Search for players in the active den, change the date by 1 in your settings, and then quit out of the raid den, and that should reset all daily events. It's a pretty quick thing to do. Anyways, the suite has a value of 30, and this applies to every type of suite, including the special event ones, which are also possible to get from this. Now we go to the Cram-O-Matic, and we place the suite in first since it is the item with the fairy type attached to it, and the item we want is in the fairy category. Then we place in 2 Dynamite Ore and a single Pecha Berry. These values would be 30, 28, 28, and 2, which adds up to 88, which is within the range required for the Destiny Knot, and as you can see, that's exactly what we get. Now you know how the whole process works, so I want to just go over a single item for each typing that I believe is easiest to obtain, and afterwards I'll have a bunch of item combinations for a lot of the common items you may want to farm for. To start, I want to cover the filler items though, which basically just means the items that are only really used for the last 3 slots due to their good number value. They can obviously still be used in the first slot, but as I stated, they're best in the last 3 slots. Dynamite and Armorite Ore both have a value of 28. Dynamite Ore is definitely the better alternative since it's a lot easier to get. Large XP candies have a value of 8, and extra large XP candies have a value of 10. Both these are also good because they can be bought using Dynamite Ore in the Max Lair Dens. Orin, Pecha, and Cherry Berries all have a value of 2, which can all be bought in Wedgehurst, so they're pretty good for padding out the numbers. Lastly, all Apricorns have a value of 0, but they do have a typing assigned to them, so in a way they're kind of the reverse of these filler items. They're best used in the first slot since they're only really useful for the typing assigned to them, and I won't mention these in the next section unless they're actually the easiest item to attain of a certain type, but I don't think that's the case for any of these types. As you could guess by my last statement, the next thing I want to talk about is the easiest items to get for each typing. If I mention a berry, I'm just going to have the location of the trees it's found in on screen, because otherwise editing this would be 9% cutting out stuttering and stammering, and I don't want to do all that. Also, any apricorns, also got from trees. So let's start with honey for the bug types. You can just catch Combi and its ability will passively gather honey, similar to how the pickup ability works. For dark types, there's no easy item, however, Ayapa berries seem to be the easiest. Funny enough, even though I called it a filler item, for dragon types, Dynamite Ore is the easiest. For electric, you can buy Pecha berries in Wedgehurst. For fairy, the sweets are the easiest, or pink apricorns from trees in the Isle of Armor or Crown Tundra. For fighting type, you can get Armorite Ore either from raid dens in the Isle of Armor, or trading in 3 Dynamite Ore for 1 Armorite Ore in the Max Lair Den. For fire type, cherry berries can also be bought in Wedgehurst. Flying type has all of the feather types, which you can find as ground items, otherwise lum berries work as well. For ghost type, similar to dark type, there's no real easy quick item to get for it, but Mago berries seem to be the easiest. For grass type, Rost berries can be found in trees. Ground type has Stardust, which you can find on the ground a lot in the Dusty Bowl, or Person berries. Ice type has the Aspire berry. Normal has the Chilan berries. Poison has Oran berries, which can also be bought from Wedgehurst. Psychic has any XP candy or citrus berries. Rock has wiki berries from trees. Steel has babiri berries. And lastly, water has chesto berries. I have a list on screen from Cerebi that has all of the set recipes you can use, regardless of values and all that. Now, the best recipes I've gotten are going to be primarily for evolution items and stuff of that nature. I'll have the number value under each item and the typing under the first item, in case you want to look up different items of equal value to swap out for the recipes. Starting off, let's go with the Dragon Scale, which you can get by using 2 Dynite Ore and 2 large XP candies. For a King's Rock, you can use 2 Dynite Ore, a Comet Shard, and any mint. For an upgrade, you can use a Pecha Berry, 2 Dynite Ore, and any mint. For a Dubious Disc, you can use a Magnet and 3 Dynite Ore. For a Sachet, you can use a Sweet and 3 large XP candies. For a Whipped Dream, you can use a Sweet, a Dynite Ore, and 2 large XP candies. In order to get a Strawberry, Love, Berry, Clover, or Flower Sweet, it's random which one you get, so you can repeat this to kind of trade in and out which sweet you have. You can use a Sweet, 2 Dynite Ore, and a large XP candy. Now, another set of sweets you can go for is the Strawberry, the Ribbon, and the Star Sweet. I do believe the Ribbon and the Star Sweet are more rare, so you're going to get more Strawberry Sweets from this. The Ribbon and the Star Sweet, I believe, are the event ones, so this is the only way to get them in Sword and Shield if you miss the initial event. For this, you can use a Sweet and 3 Dynite Ore. For an Odd Instance, you can use a Mago Berry and 3 Pecha Berries. For a Cracked Pot, which is for the phony Sinistes, you can use a Custap Berry and 3 Dynite Ore. For a Reaper Cloth, you can use a Mago Berry and 3 Comet Shards. For a Razor Claw, you can use an Aspire Berry, 2 Dynite Ore, and a Mint. For an Oval Stone, you can use a Wiki Berry and 3 large XP candies. For an Everstone, you can use a Wiki Berry, a Dynite Ore, and 2 extra large XP candies. For a Protector, you can use 2 Wikis and 2 Dynite Ore. For a Metal Coat, you can use 2 Babiri Berries and 2 Dynite Ore. For an Amulet Coin, you can use 1 Babiri Berry and 3 Comet Shards. And lastly, for a Prism Scale, you can use a Chesto Berry, 2 Dynite Ore, and a Mint. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I love making this kind of Pokemon content, so stick around for that if that's the sort of thing you like. But with all that said, have a great rest of your day, and adios.